Good afternoon, everybody. So today, I just wanted to share what Yah put on my heart, um, what He's led me to see, what He's allowed me to see, um, you know, today and over the last couple days. So I know that it was a focus of the governments of the world to take the men out of the home, specifically the Hebrew men. Um, when the Hebrew men are not there to teach their children the right way, um, obviously the children are attacked through the things of this world, through movies, through music, through idolization of sports figures, through idolization of religious figures, for example, Jesus, when that's incorrect, or Buddha or Muhammad or Allah or whoever. um, so they had a focused, concentrated effort of taking what we consider the black man, if you want to go that route, out of the home. They did it through subsidies. So in America, they gave, I think it was like in the 50s and 60s, the welfare system came about. And then from there, every decade they just stripped it back more and more and more. They introduced new drugs into the neighborhoods. They, teach us false things in school. And then, we get to the debauchery that we're living in today, which a lot of us, we're starting to see that it's not normal, but for a long time, it's what we would consider normal. Like, we were born into this hell, and we're just living these days out as if it's like this is how the world was created, when it was not, and it's not intended to be like this. By taking the man out of the home, we cannot, train up a child in the way he should go, and because that's what the Hebrew men were supposed to be doing. That's what they were instructed to do from the Creator, going back to Abraham, going back to Noah, going back to Adam. That's what the men were instructed to do. Continuing. All right, so this is just talking about Abraham here from Genesis 18:19. And this, I took it from the New American version of the Bible. It says, "Indeed, I have singled him out," speaking about Abraham, "that he may direct his children, direct, instruct, teach, and his household in the future to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and what is just." So we have to do what is right and what is just, right? So that the Lord may put into effect the promise, for Abraham, the promises he made about him. So we have a part in this. There's no passive, just believe in a person, and you're counted righteous. No, that's not how it goes. We have to do by keeping the way of Ahaya, right? And what is the way? That way is laid out over the, instruction of Moses, over the laws, the visions of the prophets. It's all there. If you want to pick up a Tanakh, pick up a Torah, what we consider an Old Testament, just read through it. Everything's there. Everything is there. We were just given Christianity so we can't see correctly. That was the way that Yah blinded the eyes and dimmed the ears of his people. He allowed Christianity, amongst other religions, to come about in this world. So the Hebrew man, again, we were created and commanded by our Creator to teach our sons and daughters directly. And through us teaching them correctly, spending time with them every single day on Torah instruction, on right ways to live, on right ways to do business. The Torah is everything. It has, laws of interacting with other humans, laws with interacting with each other, your brethren, your cousins, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister. It has ethics, moral, it has everything in there. Laws of society, laws of judgment. And for whatever reason, we were tricked over the ages, as he prophesied through many different prophets, as he prophesied through Moses and Deuteronomy, as he prophesied through Isaiah, Jeremiah, that we would forget the Torah. And that's where we are today, because, Paul teaches the law is done away with, or Jesus fulfilled the law and we just believe in him and that's all we got to do. And that's just not true. The Holy Bible, not the Hebrew Bible, is created by this Piso family, and they leave their little signatures all over that book. Written by multiple different authors that, some of the books you don't even have a legit source of where it came from. But I digress. That's not the focus of today. So, you know, reading further, it says, attend my people to my teaching. Listen to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable, unfold the puzzling events of the past. What we have heard and know, the things our ancestors have recounted to us. We do not keep them from our children. We recount them to the next generation. The praiseworthy deeds of the Lord and his strength and the wonders that he performed. So the wonders obviously that he performed was when he took them out of Egypt, the Exodus, right? We're supposed to be teaching that to our children all the time. Um, you know, all the time. We should be waking up when we're walking by the way, when we're at our house, when we're chilling, when we're all the time. We're supposed to be having conversations about his law. And through those conversations, those little light bulbs, we'll hear Yah, coming forth in our words and our essence. His presence will be there. We just have to focus and meditate and really try to grasp for the things that are written in the Torah. But he established the law in Israel, which he commanded our ancestors that they were to teach their children. Right? It doesn't say believe on anybody. It doesn't say you're gonna believe in my son in the future. It says we're supposed to be teaching our children. Right? That's why the man was taken out of the home. With no man in the home, you lose structure, you lose order, and the children are left to their own devices, literally and figuratively. The pressure put on mothers nowadays is tremendous just to pay rent and put food on the table and pay your car note and your phone bill and this bill and that bill. And sometimes you're put in situations where you do things where you don't necessarily want to do when you interact with people where you don't necessarily want to interact with. And that's by design. There's no fault to the moms. Yes, the fault probably lies in her decision making. But ultimately, everybody's being manipulated right now because we didn't follow the Torah and we still don't. And once we get that locked into our brain, the fact that there is accountability, personal accountability for each and every decision that we must, think, how is this going to affect my life in the future? Does this line up with God's law? You even have to understand what God's law is, what's expected of us. What's expected of us is to realize that, one, we've been lied to. Two, you have personal accountability of all your decisions. And that goes back to Adam and Eve, right? They didn't take personal accountability. And that was one of the biggest things. Eve was like, well, the snake beguiled me. And Adam was like, well, Eve, the woman, it was her fault. And everybody's pointing fingers at each other and saying, hey, I'm sorry I did it, right? How can I fix it? And that's how we should be living. I'm sorry. Let me continue. This is from, sorry, it's cut off right now. I didn't see the Bible verse because I cut it off on the bottom. I'm sorry. But through our obedience to a highest teaching, his Torah, his instruction, we, the seed of Abraham, the Hebrews, gain understanding. He put something inside of, like a key, and the Torah is the lock, right? He put something inside of us through our life experiences, the stuff that we've had to go through. Like, once we start reading these words and really chasing him with all of our heart, mind, and soul, it just really opens up to our spirit, to our brain, and we get the deeper things that are hidden in there for us to find. And that's what we should be trying to understand and attain right now. That's why, a lot of people are, and it's been like this for a while, but now we have technology to kind of help us out. We've been going to and fro, and now knowledge is being increased. So there's no more excuse. If you want to find Yah, he will be found of you. You don't have to necessarily speak Hebrew. You can learn, little words here and there to understand the deeper meanings of what was said and what Yah was saying in his prophets. And, it's crazy to me that, hip hop and rap and that kind of culture came about where the Bible kind of teaches like that. There's so many metaphors and double entendres and triple entendres, and Yah could be saying one sentence that means 5 different things: literal, physical, metaphysical. It's just so packed, and you get it. As a Hebrew, those are the things that are left there for you to get automatically. You don't have to be a book scholar. You don't have to had gone to college in this world or anything like that. It's just something you would understand immediately. Real recognizes real for real. But the longer that we submit ourselves to idols like this or cast behind our backs Yah's law, the entire world will live in chaos again, because there's an order to everything. And for whatever reason, Yah picked the Hebrews, the sons of Eber, the sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to show forth and teach their sons and to be obedient and to show the rest of the world how it's done. It's not because we were the greatest of all people. In fact, we were the least of all people. It's because he knew that we would do the job, that we would humble ourselves and be obedient and learn through pain and suffering and finally one day wake up and get it. And then this is the generation that we're living in, where we have all the tools at our disposal to reject these idols, to recognize an idol for what it is. No molten images, no graven images. What did he say at Mount Sinai, at Mount Horeb? If you didn't experience here on this mountain, then it's not me. Yet we still submit ourselves to this. It's crazy. It's literally crazy. It's the definition of a cult, definition of crazy. There was no image at Mount Sinai. I'm not going to list every single verse, but you guys can go look for yourselves. He says it over and over in Deuteronomy and Exodus, and there was no image. If there's an image, it's not me. So what are we praising Jesus and in Jesus' name, amen, and all? No. It's not right. Somebody needs to say it. And we need to move forward so we can go back home to Nevada, to Utah, which is Judah, right? The land of Yasharel, the true promised land. And this is how it's supposed to look. All those flowers, all those colors, the true beauty of the land, which is a desert. But one day it will look like this again. Once his people start springing forth and budding and flowering and blooming, once our souls are correct, and we stop trying to be rappers and basketball players and stop trying to be like the rest of this world, when we really get that we're supposed to be different and we're supposed to be set apart and we're supposed to lead by example and we're supposed to take care of our loved ones and take care of our families correctly, not excuse my language, not half-ass, right? You got to really dedicate yourself to a lifestyle. One thing that Christianity probably did get right is there's no lukewarm in this. It's either you're all the way in or you're all the way out. Ruth got it right. She was like, your God will be my God, right? Because remember, she was a Moabite. She wasn't a child of Israel. She was a Moabite. But, and she ended up being the grandmother of, or great-great-grandmother of David, King David, excuse me. So the Messiah will come to teach the truth, revealing Yah's true word. That's the whole point of the Messiah. It's not to die on a cross, to die for sins, to die for that. No. The point of the Messiah that you guys are waiting for is he's going to come teaching the true word of Yah. And it says it right here in Isaiah 42, verse 4. He will not grow dim or be bruised until he establishes justice on the earth. Right? The coastlands will wait for his teaching. It doesn't say, again, he says he will not be bruised. They say they beat Jesus up and whipped him and lashed him and, the passion of the Christ to him and all that stuff. Like, come on, get out of here. Just read the words on the page and we'll be fine. And there's multiple verses that say what the Messiah is supposed to do. Isaiah 45 is all about the last day Messiah, right? He's just going to teach people. He's going to read the word, look around at what's happening in the world, look at the true history of the world. He's going to see through all the BS that's been taught. He's going to show everybody and say, hey, guys, like, wake up. You guys know the African Americans, whatever you got to classify it, and other, people of that kind of status in the rest of the world. In America, we call it African Americans. I'm sure it's called something different in Brazil, something different, in other countries, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just saying that because right now I'm in America, the land that we call America. But you guys know that they're true Israelites. It lines up perfectly with Deuteronomy 28, right? So once we know that, And we know that the Indians were reclassified to Negroes, were reclassified to African Americans in 1988, and Jesse Jackson had a lot to do with it. And we start to piece things together, and we start to look at Yah's word, and Yah says that they will forget about us, and they have forgotten about us. And nobody wants to admit who's really us, and that our land is really Nevada, desolate. We used to live on those mountaintops and farm in those valleys, and those used to be the tells and the wadis and all that stuff. They don't want to tell the truth. And you gain all this understanding, and I'm not saying I'm any type of smart, but dedication and obedience goes a long way. You gain all this understanding by just sitting with Yah's word, and he lays out, in scripture, all of the different locations. There's this lady that, I watch from time to time on, I think it's TikTok. It is on TikTok. Her name is What If Mom, and she gets a lot of it right. And she's not even Hebrew. She's just dedicated, right? I think she's Christian, if I'm not mistaken, but she's just dedicated to understanding, the deeper things of Yah's word. And she at least gets the map right, right? Continuing. Blessed the one whom you guide, Lord, whom will you teach by your instruction to give rest from evil days. This is where we are now. This is talking about the Messiah again. While a pit is being dug for the wicked. And again, the wicked are not going to see this pit. I could tell you a little bit about it, but you're not going to believe me. I go over this in some of my older videos. A lot of it, what's coming has to do with the idols that we allow in our life, that God said, Ahaya said, no idols multiple times, no spiritual adultery, which is what essentially what Christianity is. It's spiritual adultery against the Creator. And he tells us that we're going to be judged by, like a wife is judged when she commits regular adultery, right? Physical adultery. So what does that mean? You remember when Yah passed through the pieces, and, it gets really deep. Just, frequency, vibration, heavy metals in the food, your cell phones being receivers and transmitters. Again, cell phone is the fact that you even have it on you, that I have it on me, it's an idol. Right? You're using it. It's messing with your aura. It's messing with, it's sending out frequencies and stuff that you don't even understand. There's just so much. There's so much. You'd think I was crazy if I were to go any deeper, but just say this: watch what you eat. We all need to clean up our eating habits. That's one of the biggest things. We fill our mouths with so many different things that Yah said don't do. The leaven is in everything, and we don't understand how that affects our bodies. But that's a lot of the pit that's being dug for the wicked. And if you won't see it, none of these words will make sense if you're not on the right path. Let's just say that. For the Lord will not forsake his people, nor abandon his inheritance. Judgment shall again be just, and the upright of heart will follow it. So judgment will again be just. We can look around the world right now and see judgment is not just. In fact, it gets the people at the top, they're pedophiles, and they get pardoned, and they pardon each other, and they're vampires and other things. And it's just craziness right now, literal craziness. I was out today, just went to go to the grocery store, and people know what's going on, but they don't know what's going on. In the town that I live in, we'll call it a Trump town, but in the town that I live in, they were outside protesting about the pedophilia and things that are going on in the world. However, that's as far as they want to admit. They still believe in democracy. They still believe in a system, but the system itself is rotten. Unless the system falls, then we continue to live like this. There's a reason why black men get shot in the back and killed and hung on trees with nobody taking the fall for it, or shot in their household, or black women being shot in their bed, or whatever the situation is, knee on the neck. I can go on and on. You guys know what I'm talking about, but there's a reason for it. God, Ahaya, made a promise, a decree to his people, and we're just living out that decree until we can realize it's him that we need to be calling out to. Yah respected and remembered his covenant when his people cried out to him in Egypt. We didn't know a Jesus in Egypt. We didn't call out to Jesus in Egypt. We called out to the Creator. And that's what we need to do again if we want to come home. If we want to go back to Nevada and want the land to look all beautiful like that and eat off the fruit of the trees and have our own, peace, we need to recognize the Creator so he can remember us and remember his covenant with our forefathers. So Yah teaches through experience. His people, the children of Yasharel, have to be doers of the word. They have to live by his word and commands. We have to be the definition of role models, right? We can't just say one thing and do another. We have to live by his word. Once we start doing the word, learning the word, he teaches you, he instructs you, and then you can start to teach the word, right? But it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And that understanding doesn't come overnight. Some people are more, connected than others, but you still have to purify yourself over time. And that's exactly what he said he would do. One by one, he would gather us, we would be purified, and we'd be brought home. When we disobey his word, our land is given to others, our wives are ravished, our children taken away. We became a byword, literally hated by the world for no good reason, just because we are hard-headed and stiff-necked unto this day. So again, it all starts in our personal understanding and commitment to Yah's word. Hebrew men, and the rest of the world, like, you guys got to point these guys in the right direction. You can't no longer hate on a color of a skin. It's just skin. I know there's some natural enmity between two different seed lines, and that's one thing, but it's not between everyone. Everyone else joined in over time because the Hebrews didn't obey. So they were allowed to fall by their Creator. And we were mocked by the world. We sag our pants low. Our hair is cut all the time. A haircut is a shameful thing. It's not. We're not supposed to have haircuts like the rest of the world. And we're not supposed to dress like the rest of the world. And we're not supposed to eat the things the rest of the world eats. We're being mocked right now. And we don't even realize it. We go along with it. In fact, we pay for it. Right? Oh, let me buy the newest Jordans. Let me go to the club and drink this, and that. We're paying for our own demise and not even realizing what we're doing. Continuing. There is a purpose to all this. The purpose is for us to glorify our Creator through his teaching. It's always been about the teaching. It's always been about the Torah. It's always been about the instruction. Right? Psalm 119, over and over again, it says, your Torah is so wonderful. Your laws, your commandments are so just. Your Torah is the light. Over and over again. Please, I implore you to go read Psalm 119. It'll set you straight real quick. But it was the Lord's will for us to be bruised and for us to, be put in this situation for the sake of his justice, his perfect justice, to make his teaching great and glorious. So the purpose of his children going through all this is so once and for all, the entire world could know that, yes, there is a God. No, it's not Jesus. No, it's not Buddha. No, it's not related to Muhammad or Allah or any of these other things or entities or people. It's just one Lord of hosts, if you want to go that way, right? Ahaya, Yahayasha, our Savior. Yah is salvation, Yahayasha. It's not a hard concept. Yah is our healer. Yah is our rabbi. Yah is our teacher. Yah is all about the creator of everything. And he puts his signature on his creation. Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget that the things which thine eyes have seen. We didn't do that, right? We wanted to be, and it started, if you can go back and read Chronicles and Kings and Samuel, it started back then, where we started to look to the right and to the left and to our neighbors next to us and we're like, oh, we want to be like them. Oh, they wear flashy clothes and shiny suits and do music videos. Let's go do that too. That was never for us, right? And we're supposed to be the people that keep things in order, but right now everything is upside down. And because we couldn't listen and don't listen, we're still being punished for it. Unless they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them to thy sons and thy sons' sons, right? Again, we're supposed to be teaching, especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Oreb, when the Lord said unto me. So that was the 10 commandments, Exodus 20, Those are the first set of 10 commandments in Exodus 34. That's another set of 10 commandments. 2 different sets of 10 commandments, just so you're aware. Go check it out. But the first set is what he's talking about here when they stood before him in Oreb. That's the way to live when we're amongst each other living in the land, right? Shall now have no other gods except for the Creator. We should not, when it says that you should not steal, it's not talking about stealing like a Snickers out of a store. It's talking about we should not kidnap, steal each other, which is being done on a massive scale all over the world right now, using the straw man, the birth certificate, the social security card. They're stealing literally our lives away from us. They kidnapped us, they ransomed us, and we go along with it. We sign up for it now, But basically, that's what it means when it's talking about you shouldn't steal, you shouldn't kidnap your brother. And there's justice and judgment coming for all this. We just gotta continue, and somebody's gonna get it right one day, and set everything straight. But yeah, the Exodus 10 commandments, adultery, spiritual adultery. So what we do now with Christianity and all that stuff, that's spiritual adultery. That's idolization. That's breaking like 3 or 4 of the commandments in one shot. And you think you're doing good because you go to church on Sunday. Wake up. It was never about that. It's about what's inside your heart, how you treat your brethren, how you treat God's people, his real chosen people. And because the whole world has been killing us and been in on it and been stealing us and stealing from us and looking down on us and calling us a byword. Imagine what he's going to do when the Israelites first came out of Egypt. I think the ratio of Egyptians to Israelites, when they drowned, let's say they drowned 10,000 Israelites in the rivers, because they wanted to kill them around Moses' time. I think God killed maybe 1 million Egyptians because of that. You know how many people they've killed since the early or late 1500s? So imagine the wrath that's going to come from Almighty Creator for putting his children down so low. And for all of the hurt, pain, and atrocities that when they just taken it so far over the last 400 some odd years, 490 years, right? 70 weeks. Continuing. Gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children. So it's always been about teaching, right? It's always been about teaching. So Hebrew men, it's time to seek your Creator, do his commands, then our land, Utah, Nevada, and this is in Exodus 34. Actually, I'm not sure if it's in Exodus 34, but it's in Exodus somewhere, maybe even Leviticus. But if we meet with Yah 3 times a year, nobody can stand before us. Yah will give us the strength, the power, all the things needed, the spirit to stand up in front of our enemies. Then our land will blossom as the lily, and we can go home forever. And that's what he teaches. Ezekiel 37 has not come to pass. We are still in the valley of dry bones. We are starting to wake up. Bones, sounds like they're rattling a little bit. We're getting there. But we got a lot of work to do. We have a lot of repenting to do, a lot of things to put down, a lot of sorries to say and crying to do and changes to be made. And the truth, this is the truth that they hide in plain sight, that they don't want you to know. You have the truth in your hands. It's just mixed with a lot of deception, a lot of lies, a lot of bad teaching, a lot of culture, a lot of this world. So you can't really see it just right. But I promise you, read Deuteronomy 4, just spend time in Deuteronomy. You'll never go back to any of these other religions. You'll never go back to Christianity. You'll see the truth for what it is. You'll see that all of it's fake. Mormonism, Christianity, Islam, it's all fake, guys. It's all fake. We've all been tricked, and this is coming from a person who, I consider myself Christian. I looked at the Quran a little bit, looked at the Book of Mormon for study, just to see, what they teach. It's all fake. There's only the way. There's only whatever Yah said to his people, through the prophets, through Moses, and it's all about to be exposed, and that's what we're here for. All praise to Ahaya. Hope this touches someone.